Hey, I'm Ethan.
Hey, I'm Mike.
I watched the first half of Casino Royale.
I watched the second half of Casino Royale.
And this
Is the other half.
Watch till you can't. But wait, make it goofy.
Casino Royale. Do you ever hear that song in your half the movie?
Nope.
Okay. James Bond's at the Casino Royale. He meets some girls and he makes some money.
This could be real.
This is real. This is
I somehow don't believe you.
Okay, well,
but I believe you at the same time. So this is a weird one.
Yep.
We decided to include this one because this is all the James Bond movies.
We are completionist, if nothing else.
We want to see them all. And
Yes.
this is like an unofficial kind of like side thing that they made that wasn't done by Eon Productions, I believe.
No, I'm pretty sure some other production company bought the rights to this one Ian Fleming book, which is also why it took so long, I believe. Could be talking on my ass, but I believe that's why it took so long to make Casino Royale later on.
Yeah.
Is because they were waiting for the rights to be open and available.
Which is the first James Bond
Mm-hmm.
book, technically, by Ian Fleming.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's the first one, so they've been waiting for it. That's why they like reboot it, and it was like, oh shit, it's a big deal using the original Casino Royale.
And it's not going to have Peter Sellers in it.
It's not going to have Peter
Orson
fucking
Welles.
Sellers or Woody Allen.
Woody Allen.
What a wild, this feels like prototype Austin Powers.
Oh, dude, 100%. Like, yeah, if you took, it is. It's just Austin Powers.
It's just Austin Powers. Yeah. But it's kind of interesting seeing this all the way back in, the 1967. Like, this is like,
this is in the middle of the swinging 60s is probably when it was like pitched.
Yeah, and like they definitely already knew about like the tropes of James Bond at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like,
the villain is Dr. Noah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good.
See, there you go. Yeah.
The thing is, though, this movie sucks.
It's awful. It reminded me so much of Head. Like
yes. Where it's like there's some good stuff.
There's there's a portion.
I will say
the beginning of my half of the movie where I was like, this might be actually really good, and then Peter Sellers shows up, and I'm like, oh. This movie's bad now.
Yeah. It was like, it's also 2 hours and like 14 minutes long.
So fucking long.
The same issue with Head, where it's like, this is such a long movie.
It outstays its welcome.
It doesn't need to be this long.
Yeah.
And so many of the bits just go on so fucking long.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is the joke. And they just keep, it's very British uncut humor where it's just like, this is the joke. We're just going to keep doing it because the situation's funny. And it's like, the situation
was funny.
Yeah, was funny.
Yeah, it's not funny anymore.
It's not really that funny anymore.
It's also like Head because not only is it a bunch of bits that are sort of like loosely strung together, and it's very like obnoxious and like random, but also they use like newfangled camera effects a lot to try to like get certain jokes out. Like they add animation, they add like the weird overlays and colors and stuff, and it just never looks good. Like it takes so long for it to end because it's like, they made it on film, so of course it took forever to edit, but it's just like, God, this movie's fucking awful.
It was pretty bad.
It was really bad.
But it was also fascinating to watch at the same time.
And I'm excited to talk about it because there's already I've already mentioned something that this movie does, which is have a terrible theme, which is here's a guy at Casino Royale. He does stuff. He's Casino Royale.
They don't play it because the opening credits are so bland.
Well, the ending credits are not. And so
well, they're not bland. They're just like weird.
So tell me about the opening credits.
Okay, so the opening is weird because some guy just shows up and talks to James Bond. It's like a lieutenant, a police guy.
Which James Bond?
Wow, this is when I don't know at this point. It's just some guy.
Mm-hmm.
He says, Mr. Bond? He's like, yes, I'm lieutenant of police. Come with me. And he's like, okay. And then the opening credits happen. And that's never like done again. Like,
weird.
It's not even that's not even the original James Bond.
Right.
Like, it's just some guy.
It's just a guy. Yeah.
It was very confusing. I thought maybe it was the guy from the next movie we watched, but it's not.
It's not. It's just a random guy.
It's just some random guy.
Oh, he's the random guy at the end of the movie that does not have a name and is kind of like young looking, like sharp, kind of like.
Yeah, he does kind of. I mean, he looks like kind of
the other James Bond.
Other James Bond we get to in the future. Here.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, this is the first time we're not seeing
Sean Connery.
Do you miss him?
Kinda,
yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, you kind of.
It was weird. You could feel the absence.
There's an absence there, and I'm like, people say like Bond, and I'm like, kind of. Like, it doesn't fit the role. Like these.
Are you talking about this movie?
I'm talking about this movie.
Well, yeah, because it's a fucking joke.
It's a fucking
like,
joke. It's true.
it almost feels like them calling him James Bond is a joke because we all look at him and it's like he's either an old man or Peter Sellers. You know,
that's true. There's quite a lot of James Bonds.
Yeah.
But then the opening credits happen, and I see it's very Monty Python with like goofy lettering that's like hard to read, and like they have the big uppercase giant flourished first letter of everyone's name, and they have like the character inside of them, and they're like looking around. I'm like, ooh, cool. But also you can't read who the fuck is on screen. But I did read Peter Sellers, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I saw Woody Allen, and I was like, whoa.
No.
I was like, oh yeah.
Yep. And Orson Welles.
Orson Welles is also on there, yeah. And I was very much like, whoa. And there's a monkey with a wig on?
What the fuck was that about?
So that's in your half of the movie?
Yeah, the monkey shows up in my half too with a wig.
He's just in there.
I wrote it down because I was like, I'm going to just start listing things that are crazy. And I wrote down the monkey with a wig. I'm like, Ethan's not going to believe this.
I saw it in the intro. Otherwise, I wouldn't have.
You wouldn't have.
And then they said instead of based off the novel by Ian Fleming, it just says suggested.
Because it's not really based off it. They're doing a lot of crazy shit.
So then we get a helicopter shot of 4 cars all meeting up in like a sheep field, and they all get into one car and pile up, and it is
the sheep.
No, the sheep, not the sheep. They weren't invited this time.
Okay.
They don't have any power in government.
Yeah, got it.
But you know who does is M, and M is in there with other spy operatives of the CIA, the KGB, and whatever the French one's called.
The French Foreign Legion, the French Legionnaires.
The French Legionnaires, I think, is correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And M's just like, a good spy is a pure spy. We have to talk to him, the best spy in the world. Oh, there's a bunch of lions here. There's just a bunch of lions hanging around the car. And they're like, don't be afraid of the lions. They're just here. They're only curious. And then one of them like jumps on the car and they just keep driving.
That's they're real lions, too.
They're real lions.
That sounds pretty crazy.
They come back in your half?
Nope.
Yep.
Wait, kind of, actually.
This is the original, like, lol random.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so random. I put a line in here. The only reason I could think maybe this is the beginning of the movie and there's no MGM logo. So maybe they're like, lions.
I think we're giving this movie a little too much credit, but I like that.
Yeah, I don't. It's weird because there are some parts that are clever.
Yeah.
But there's so much of it's not.
Like, do you make Peter Sellers in your half of the movie?
Yeah.
His name is, is it Evelyn?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like 11. Like 007, like 11.
Oh, sure. I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
I thought it was Evelyn because he gets seduced by another Bond. Who's
Oh,
a lady.
does he?
Yeah.
Who's the other Bond? Vesper?
I can't remember. I'll have to get to her name at some point. But it's the one who played. It's the lady who played.
Vesper.
Honey Rider.
Yeah.
Vesper,
She's in the movie too. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is an interesting get. So anyway, they go to the original James Bond. And at first I'm like, this is a cool idea. Like they're going to the first James Bond because he's doing like little push-ups on a little weird seat. He's in a giant mansion.
He's an old man now.
And I was like, oh, this is, I guess I never really thought about where James Bond lives, right? Like
we never see his house.
We never see his house.
He's working all the time.
He's working all the time. Yeah. Everyone's introduced to Bond. M is like, everyone here is, equivalent to me. And Bond's like, I'm a fancy guy. Man, it's unlike the one you replaced me with, who leaves dead women in his wake.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, shit. Okay.
There you go.
I'm like, ooh. It's just interesting to see this, like, take so long ago where it's like, oh, people at the time were like, what the fuck is this? Like, they were like, in our minds, it's like, oh, the history is written by the victors, right? Where it's like James Bond,
this is a success.
James Bond was popular. It was a success. Everyone loved it. And it's like, clearly some people had problems with maybe how it portrayed women or how he was portrayed at all.
Race, death.
Yeah, they didn't mention that.
I guess that I probably didn't care, right?
Yeah, they probably didn't care.
Yeah, that's fair.
So then, yeah, he's like, you gave my number to him. How dare you? Anyway, you guys are all about your newfangled gadgets. You and your cyanide carnation you have. Your grotesque boots with weapons in them. Your flamethrower pen. It's all so lame in modern. Why would I go to the modern times? Why would you want to call me back to work? When I could go outside and look at my black rose. And he goes out and looks at a black rose. I don't know if it's a joke.
This sounds like it's a joke, but I don't understand it.
It might be something of the time.
Yeah, probably.
This is one of those things that's like funny because you see comedy age in a different way.
How do you mean?
Well, like so many times you see movies in like the 2000s, like, oh, this is extremely misogynistic, or they say slurs or whatever. But seeing something that's like so old, you're just like, these are just completely lost in the culture completely.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like references to popular media.
I don't know
at the time.
if Black Rose is maybe popular at the time. Who knows?
Yeah.
They keep saying, but M and his equivalents are like, things are bad. I've lost 11 agents like recently, and there's no agents left at the KGB. The Americans are down. French are down. We're just getting swamped out here. We need an original secret agent, the best one like you.
We already said this.
And James is like, well, it's not one of you, is it? You're not some of the ones who did it? And he's like, no.
Oh, mole.
No, it's not us. Anyway, I must go and play my Debussy. And he goes and plays like a little like
the song.
The piano.
Yeah, the piano. Yeah.
He goes and does that.
Debussy?
That's what it's called, Debussy. That's ahead of its time.
Oh yeah.
He goes and plays music for a bit, and then he comes back, and the M folks all talk to each other, and they're like, yeah, he retired because his lover died. Like, he went into hiding because of that. But this will get him back out. And M hands him a letter from the Queen that says, like, I request your service again. He's like, I'm not coming out of retirement. So M says, sorry, James. He lights a cigarette and smokes it. And then the mortar team says, that's the signal. And they start bombing his whole house. And they blow up his house and apparently kill M in the process.
What the fuck?
Which, okay. So the problem with this movie, one of the many problems with it.
One of the many problems.
Is it's incoherent what the actual plot is.
Yes.
Absolutely incoherent.
Yes.
They mention the plot in like one line and then they keep moving.
Yeah.
They don't, because I had no idea he died.
The M died?
There's no obvious signs he died. You just see some explosions. He's far away from the house.
Sure.
Everyone's far away. He's standing right next to James. I don't know how James isn't dead.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the evil base of Smirsh.
Which is so funny.
It's so funny. It's like Spectre, but different.
It's like Spectre, but Smirsh.
And they're like, Plan B. Now that James Bond's back, we have to destroy his image of being celibate and his vows to being a good person. So they're gonna have to make him a fucking horn dog,
which is what he already was, right?
No, this is not this James Bond.
Oh, this is a different James Bond.
This is the old James Bond. Old James Bond is different. He doesn't like that. Everyone's just like a sex pest around there,
You're right. Okay.
He's very proper.
Right.
And so Don't you know? So what he has to do now is he has to go to M's widow.
Got it.
Because this is not going to come and play in your head.
Oh,
I'm not going to get these things.
Ethan's telling me this, and I'm acting like I'm watching like talking about a normal movie.
You're talking about a normal movie where things come back into play. No, this is a bit, and it's going to be over soon. That's what I said every time I watched a scene in this movie. I'm like, this is a bit.
It's going to be over soon. Yeah.
And then I'll be halfway done with my movie. So what happens is because he has to go talk to the widow because he grabbed M's toupee.
Okay.
So he has to deliver it to
the toupee.
The widow, who is now
Mrs. M,
who's been taken over by Smirsh agents. The whole place has been taken over by Smirsh agents.
Okay.
So the widow is played by Agent Mimi, and we picked her because she has the best Scottish accent. She does not have a good Scottish accent. And then he provides the toupee. She's like, I have to bury it outside because it's considered an heirloom. Get it?
Heirloom. I get it now. Do you think everyone because I feel like there's always constant references to Scottish accents. Do you think this is in reference to like Sean Connery?
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be. Just British people thinking the Scottish people are funny. But yeah, maybe. And she's just like, I have to carry this out. I have to do all this. McTerry woman never asks questions. And then behind them, you see a goat tied to a pole carried by 6 virgins who must sacrifice. The widow must kill the goat and sacrifice it.
Okay.
But it has to be carried by 6 virgins.
Severin shit.
Yeah, very much Severin shit. So then James goes to his room, and all the 11 daughters of M help him, and they all let them know they're all between ages of 16 and 19. They want to help him out.
Oh, God.
And they always help out Daddy.
Oh, God.
So they say, yeah. This is like, that scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail? It's not funny.
Yeah.
Like the part
the Castle Anthrax.
The Castle Anthrax, which is like the least funny part of the whole movie. And everyone's just like, yeah, this is here, I guess.
Yeah.
This is the part everyone's like, this is a brilliant movie, but we don't talk about Castle Anthrax. It's not very funny.
That part is like funny for a bit, and then it just lasts a little bit too long.
This whole movie is the Castle Anthrax part where you're like, oh, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're still
here?
Okay. So so they say we always help Daddy, and he's like, I just need to take a bath. And so they lead him to a sauna where there's a lady just in his bath, and she's like, I'm testing the water just like me dad always liked. Why don't you get in? He gets in, and he looks very uncomfortable by all this because he's a proper man.
He's a proper gentleman, yeah.
And she washes him, and she says, "I'm 17. Turn around and face me."
Jesus Christ!
Like, oh my God!
All right, I mean, I believe in Britain, isn't like age of consent slightly like lower than in America?
I think it might be 16.
Yeah, so like still creepy, but I think at least in where this movie was probably shot and like written
when it was
not like
it wasn't trying to make
illegal.
him a pedophile.
Yeah, exactly. Still a pederast.
Still pretty gross because like this is old James Bond.
Yeah.
He is like at least in his late 50s.
Yeah, still not great. And also the movie continues to not be great in this particular way.
I am not surprised.
Yeah.
Can't say I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Spurge agents are talking amongst themselves in another scene, and they talk about how they have a button on here that will, like, if Agent Mimi fails in seducing him, M's widow,
right?
We have a little backup. And they're like, Mimi never fails, though. So they go to the yard, and they celebrate, and they all, like, have a good little feast. They have a good time, and everyone there's just so many Scottish jokes. I didn't write them down. It's just all jokes about them. And then everyone eventually gets drunk and wasted, and they all fall asleep. And I can't tell if it's just a joke because they're Scottish or because Bond like poisoned all their drinks and made them go to sleep because he wants to go to bed. Because he just goes to bed and gets a good night's sleep. But
it's always good when a joke not only doesn't land but is like incomprehensible. Like you can't figure out whether like what it's trying to do at all.
What is the joke here?
Yeah.
I do believe he
drugged
made them all pass out.
Okay.
And then Mimi appears at his bedroom and locks the door behind her and is like, "I claim a widow's due. Doodle me. And he's like, "No, I don't want to doodle you." And he's like, "You don't want to doodle me? Well, then you have to pay the piper." And so he goes outside. I know. And there's 3 guys there. And he's like, "You have to wrestle these 3 guys, James." And he's this like big, tall Scottish dudes.
Right.
And they go downstairs to wrestle, which I thought was just a fun term to say, wrestling. And maybe that's what the joke is. But they instead pick up large stones and try to toss them to each other. And whoever drops them is the loser. But none of these guys can pick it up.
Because they're too big?
No, they're just not strong enough to hold it.
Oh.
But James is the only one who can pick it up. And he tosses it to someone, and they fall, and he's the winner of the wrestling. And he was so strong that Mimi's fallen in love.
Oh, no.
He's fallen in love with James because he's just
he's a man.
He's a manly man.
Yeah.
And then Mimi clearly is
women love guys that can pick up rocks.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And he also karate chops it in half. And he's just like, "Ooh, I did what I so had it in me." And then the evil women, they all turn on Mimi and they lock her up. So then James goes outside to shoot grouse. Because it's a Scottish tradition to do when someone dies. Grouse are just geese.
Oh,
basically.
okay, I got it. Thank you. I was like, is that a character that gets to be introduced?
No, yeah. That is part of our tradition of kill grouse.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
not me.
I didn't want to die. Sorry, Em died. It's time for his favorite servant to be killed with him.
That sounds like a joke.
Yeah.
Right?
It does. But, Mimi's locked up, but she's so fucking horny, dude, for James. So she escapes captivity, and, like, she's on, like, I don't know, maybe the 5th or 6th story of the castle that they're in.
Did she jump off?
So she grabs onto a gutter and almost falls off the gutter. Some really bad green screen, and then she slides down the gutter, and she escapes. He's shooting grouse, but then they use the button, and then they come fake grouse that are, like, shot out of a car, and the car is like they're like bomb.
Oh, they're bomb grouse.
Yeah, so they try to fly them, but he's too good at shooting them, so he just keeps shooting them and they blow up.
And he doesn't think it's weird?
Yeah, but they have a homing device on him.
Okay.
And so Mimi shows up and she's like, "Oh, the button, you have to throw it away." And they slingshot the button away towards the bad girls. And it tracks the bomb, but then they slingshot it back and forth, and it's like a little game of hot potato.
Okay.
And then
hot grouse.
And then it eventually blows up the thing that was shooting out the hot grouse.
Got it.
And then Mimi's hurt in the process.
No.
Oh, no. But it's a little tiny wound. She begins dying. And she's like, "Think of me as the second woman in your life. The one after Mata Hai. Kiss me, Jamie. Kiss me. Goodbye." And he's like, "I don't think you're dying. I think you're okay." "Are you sure you're good?"
Yeah.
He kisses her and she's like, "No, I'm not dying, but I'm giving up on life. I'm going over here to join a convent. Goodbye."
Funny.
Yep. This isn't doing anything for you.
I mean, I'm like, you hear me? I'm laughing, right?
You're laughing.
I'm laughing.
You're definitely not laughing at my laissez-faire
At your
delivery.
expense, yeah.
Bond drives home, gets cut off by a lady in a fancy car. By the way, I looked this up because I want to know who this person was. His name Jag. They have a whole jamesbond.fan.com has a whole play-by-play of this entire scene.
What the fuck? For a movie that isn't even like
no, but
canon?
this scene. Let me tell you what the scene is. Bond's driving home. He gets cut off by a lady in a fancy car.
Got it.
A bomb car also follows him because it's tracking him.
Okay.
And he drove. It's funny because he drives right by the bomb car. It's just full of. It's just a remote control car full of bombs.
Got it. Okay.
The car could have easily exploded while it drove by.
But
him.
it didn't.
It didn't. So it starts chasing him. And then Smirch HQ, they have a little like slot car track where it's very funny that they're showing like where they're driving, and they have like a little. Slot
very
car
funny.
thing.
It's very funny.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But then they lose vision because they're knocking around each other, and it's hard to drive. So they're just driving, and then the lady who was chasing them. James drives into the headquarters. He shuts the door of the headquarters, the gate, I guess, and the lady was not fast enough. She runs into the headquarters gate, and then the bomb car stabs her car and explodes outside the headquarters.
Okay. That was all on the website.
It was like, I shit you not, 7 paragraphs
Jesus
long. Not
Christ.
like
every little detail.
Yeah, no, these are thick paragraphs, like 4 sentences each.
Jesus.
4 or 5 sentences each. Every little description of Jag dying.
Oh my God.
And that's it. That's
These people are fucking crazy.
Fandoms are nuts, man.
Yeah, they really are.
Bond arrives at the headquarters and says, "Good Lord, Moneypenny, you haven't changed a bit." And then
She's young.
Gives her a big old kiss. She says, "Oh, yeah, I'm her daughter."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Oh.
I feel weird about this one.
I feel weird about that one."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Were you stupid?"
She also looks very, like, young. Like,
she does.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, this place brings back memories. Get me my favorite tea. I got to take over M Secrets now that I'm going to run this place." I guess he's going to run this place. I never heard him get any information that he's going to run this place or anything.
Well, he made the decision, the executive decision.
Sure. I guess M's dead.
Someone's got to be M.
Yeah, I guess. So they look at the board of all the world, and there's all these black flags everywhere, and he asks, like, his assistant guy. And the assistant's like, "Oh, what's this? Oh, yes, all of those agents are dead. We lost contact with them." And he explains how they all died, and they're always like, "He was visiting a geisha room, and he died. And he was doing a sex act with this person, and he died." And James Bond says, "Shame Secrets agents are now synonymous with sex addicts." It's a shame.
See,
shame.
You get again another reference to the movies.
Another reference to the movies.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Why are 2 agents in the Caribbean?" He's like, "Oh, well, we lost contact with one of them. It's your nephew, Jimmy Bond." And we cut to Jimmy Bond, who's Woody Allen, in the Caribbean. He's in front of a firing squad. And then this is the only scene that made me legitimately laugh. Because Woody Allen's there. It's so funny.
He's a funny guy. Yeah. Speaking of pederasts.
Yeah, that's very true. He's like, 16 is a great number.
Yeah. That's a good Woody Allen impression, by the way. 16 is a good number.
I don't think I've heard Woody Allen talk for a long period of time.
That's fair. Good for you.
Yeah,
That's the best way to be.
I know.
Yeah.
So he sees a firing squad. They're about to shoot him. He goes, "What? Wah!" And he puts like some gas on the ground, and they start shooting. They miss him, and he climbs over the wall, and he gets right. He lands on the other side. He goes, "I made it!" And then he's in front of another firing squad.
That's pretty good.
It's a pretty good visual gag.
That's pretty
he's
good.
like, "Oh," and he runs away. So then James Bond's like, "Oh, they're using female spies like crazy. We need an AFSD, an anti-female spy device, because apparently it's killing all of our agents because everyone's just too fucking horny, and these women agents are just too powerful.
Right.
So we need to find one man that all women want and make him immune to women. How do we do that?" And then Moneypenny says, like, "Well, I have an idea." And he's like, "Yes, go to the auxiliary files and perform the test." So Moneypenny goes, gets a bunch of guys, lines them up, and just walks up and tries to kiss each one of them. And every single one kisses her, and then she taps him on the shoulder like, "You're not good."
Sounds like a weird scene.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's even weirder where she kisses one, and he's just like, "So we're going to continue this in my bed?" And she's like, "Okay." And then they fucking do it. And then... And then he gets the job.
What?
So this guy named Cooper is now James Bond.
Okay.
007 Good Hunting, James Bond says. And Bond says all remaining MI6 agents are now going to be called James Bond 007 to confuse the enemy
Yes.
and
And
us,
the audience.
and us
Yes.
while reading about this podcast.
Oh, yes, it
So I was
does.
gonna say Cooper Bond is going around. He's just training where he kisses ladies and then fucking flips them over, and he's like, well, this goes against every instinct. They all try to seduce him, and he just kisses them for a bit, and he flops them over and gives them a fucking like.
Flops him over.
He like does like I don't know,
Like a suplex?
kinda.
Yeah.
And, like, throws him on the ground.
Yeah.
Um,
This is such a weird movie.
it's very weird.
Yeah.
And then we see Miss Lind, who is Honey Rider from the first movie.
Yes.
She's wearing a crazy pink outfit that looks Indian in nature.
Mm-hmm.
But she's also a Bond agent as well. And she's going to seduce. I put subdue.
Yeah.
Both.
Subdue the audience.
Evelyn Tramble, who's Peter Sellers.
Oh, yeah.
And she goes to him because she's recruiting him because he apparently they're going to use him for playing. Oh my God, what's the game called?
Baccarat. Yeah. Comes into play later.
Yeah.
Why do they think he can, like, can he play Baccarat?
He can. He's an author. He's a very famous author on like the game of Baccarat.
Got it. Okay.
So they're going to
That's
seduce him.
helpful.
Very famous. And she starts off with, isn't that a girl's name? Anyway,
Mhm.
so they're going to beat this guy because I guess they embezzle money for Smirch. And if they beat him, they can maybe figure out more about the Smirch thing. Anyway, so then, yeah, you can see Lind is wild. There's a scene where she's like disposing of a body while answering a call and trying to seduce Evelyn, which is very weird.
Who's Lind?
Is that not her name?
I believe her name is Vesper.
Maybe that's her like actual code name, but I wrote Miss Lind because that's what they called her.
Got it. Okay.
We can call her Vesper. That's fine.
Whatever.
Vesper's a better name.
Thank you. I made it
thank
up.
you. Yeah, you made it up yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just made it up for this podcast,
Yep.
and you're being a fucking fool, Ethan, by falling for
You
it.
idiot. You
so-
fell for it.
You fool.
Vesper Lind is her name.
Okay, so we're both right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm more right.
No, I missed because she's not married. So, Lynn disposes of the body. Okay, she seduces Evelyn in her room with like, they bring him in, and it's like all like slow motion. He seems very in awe with her place because there's a bunch of fish everywhere. She's explaining, doing the thing where she's like, I didn't understand your book, like chapter 6 or 7. They're talking in the conversation pit.
Right.
He's like, oh, we should talk about that book. She's like, yes, let's talk about it in a more intimate setting.
Mm-hmm.
And then the conversation pit just fucking sinks into the floor. It's very funny to me. It's just like, it doesn't go to his bedroom. They just lowered the conversation pit.
That's pretty funny.
And then she says, I want to see what happens if I put you in a different hat or costume, if you like that sort of thing. So he puts on various outfits, including just a straight up Hitler outfit. And she's like, oh, I look good in that one.
No.
And then he puts on like a Napoleon outfit, and then she says, you have to beat Chiffon. And he's like, how do I do that? Like, I don't know. She keeps taking photos of him with all these different outfits.
This is Peter Sellers?
Yes.
I got it.
Says, I'll offer him $100K to play. And he's like, he won't take it because he'll recognize me. He's like, no, you won't, because you have a different name. James Bond.
That's how people don't recognize somebody.
Well, he's also got a ton of outfits on.
Oh, yeah,
so,
that's true.
He could dress up as Hitler and be called James Bond.
Yeah, and be like, okay, cool.
Sure, I'll fight you.
Yeah.
Evelyn arrives at the James Bond training camp, and he's like, this place is weird. There's a guy watching me. It looks like a gnome. It's like, oh, it's probably James Bond. He's like, no, it's that guy over there. It's like, oh, no, that's a gnome. It's just, he's a security guy. He just looks like that.
Okay.
Okay. So he gets a new watch. It shows a video television on it. And he's like, this is cool.
It's an
This
Apple
is really
Watch.
cool. It's like an Apple Watch. This is sick. And then he puts a suit on. It looks goofy.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it's just jokes
That's
about
so
that.
funny, man.
I know. So then we come back to James Bond, and they're talking about like how we need to do a Smirch cover operation, and we have to infiltrate it with our top
Got to cover that
agent.
smirch.
And he's like, "Oh, I was thinking about young Mata Bond,
Mm-hmm.
which is his estranged daughter and
yes.
his ex-lovers. What do you call it, like widower?
I don't think so. I guess she's dead.
She's
but
dead. So
yeah.
like his widowed.
But I think you have to be
mom.
married in order to be a widow.
I thought they were married.
Oh, were they married?
I mean, her name is Young Mata Bond.
That's true.
So I imagine they have the same name. I don't know. Anyway.
I hear that on Monobond you can drive as fast as you want.
It's not actually true. It means you just need to drive a safe a safe level.
Oh,
If you
okay.
drive a safe level, they won't pull you over.
Got it.
But that's
Okay.
determined by you as a driver, young Monavon. I prefer the old
Yeah.
Monavon.
Old Monavon, yeah.
It was different back then. So she
Yeah?
says, a terrible dancer, or like her mom was a great dancer, but terrible spy. That's why she died.
Oh.
But maybe, but
I
I
heard
know
her mom was a good spy.
But I know she's a terrible dancer, but she may be a great spy.
Mm.
Her daughter might be, yeah.
Yeah.
So then old Bond goes to Indonesia and goes to like this massive temple. She does a really goofy dance for him.
She's a bad dancer.
She really stands out among all the other dancers because it's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, "My God, it's uncanny what memories it brings back. I am Sir James Bond, and you are my child."
Yep.
And she's like, "Daddy."
Yep, exactly.
That's
this
my
is
scene.
where I learn a lot. One, that James Bond is played by an old man, which I was very surprised by. And two, this British white lady is in some kind of strange Indonesian temple in like I don't know, like East Indian looking garb. Yeah.
I mean, that's James Bond.
That's just James Bond.
That was what in what did they do that in?
First one, Dr. No.
Dr. No, they had that. I thought it was in what was the one where they were fighting? That was in Goldfinger.
Oh yeah, they're really.
Well, it was the two ladies who were fighting over the guy. Oh, it's From Russia with Love, I think.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that part.
Yeah, you didn't.
So we learned that she grew up in an orphanage. He threw her in an orphanage at the age of 3 because of his job. His job was just too important.
Orphanage is better.
So orphanage is better. And he says, "You've been getting my monthly payments, right?" And she says, "Yeah, they've all gone to analyst fees." And then she's like lying down in her bed and she like grabs like a hookah and like starts like smoking it. And she goes, "You want to drag?" Okay, here's my thing. I love her.
Okay.
Bada's my favorite character in this movie, and I know that's not saying a lot, but honestly, she's probably one of the best characters I've seen in any of these movies.
Wow.
She's funny. She's a cool, like
I wish I saw her more.
effective, like spy. She's a really good, like physical comedian as well. She does a lot of really funny stuff with her body. Like sounds like she's like
Doing goofy dances.
the dances and stuff. I don't know who this actor is. I didn't look her up. I don't know if she's been in any of their movies. She rocks. Every single scene she's in, I love it. So that was, of course, she's only in like 30% of the film.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So she gives him a tea that's made of poppy seeds, and says something like, "Yeah, this will get you stoned like immediately when you drink it." I kind of dig it because like this is all like strange like cultural osmosis kind of sort of thing where it's like she's like in an Indonesian temple. She's a British white lady in this like strange hookah style, like harem looking room, but she's also talking like a swinging 60s like teenager and using like strange slang. I love it. It looks great. It sounds great.
That's fun. I mean, it also makes sense because he's also like old British, like proper British.
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
So then she sort of looks over at him, looks him up and down, and then she says,
If you weren't my dad, I think I could fancy you.
This is where I start to have some problems.
She hasn't been like anything.
Yeah, I looked. Yeah, I don't know.
Sad.
Yeah, I know. She's fucking amazing in this. He says that she needs to attend a very famous Berlin school for spies, which was, I guess it's named after her mom. So they like worship her, even though apparently her mom was not a good spy.
That's what James Bond said. Maybe compared to James Bond. But...
Maybe. And he jokes. She's like, "Don't I need some equipment to like." Destroy like people against me, like an exploding suitcase. And he says, "Well, your mom, was able to take down all these different armies and mercenaries, and she was working with less equipment than you." And he looks at her tits and she laughs.
Okay.
So then she's in Britain. And she meets up with a bunch of British operatives, and they're like, "You need to get to Berlin." And she goes, "How do I get there?" And they're like, "A taxi." So they like hail a taxi. A taxi drives by. She jumps in the taxi, and he's like, "Where to?" And she goes, "Berlin." And he says, "East or west?" And she says, "West, of course." And he's like, "Okay." So they drive to West Berlin.
Relevant joke.
Great.
Which Korea, South or North?
So they arrive in Berlin, in West Berlin, and we see one side of the wall, which is like happening, very fun and upbeat, and the other side of the wall, which is boring and depressing. And then she sneaks into East Berlin via like a wall, and she tells the taxi driver like, "Wait for me." And he goes, "Well, you've got like an insanely high bill. I'm not just gonna like let you just go." And she goes, "Well, I'll be right back. Don't worry." So she sneaks into the school and she meets with a bunch of the teachers there. They know her mom, so they recognize her. And the school's like shot like a German expressionist film because
Okay.
they're in like
Yeah.
Berlin. And honestly, I loved all this bit. Like, she's great, and also the German expressionism is really cool. And like the sets look really wild. Is really cool.
Will it continue to be cool?
Only this scene, and then once this scene ends, once they leave this like entire like set, it sucks. Fucking sucks. So
Because
this
at first you're like, this is kind of cool.
it's great. It's
Yeah.
really good. The school trains all sorts of spies. They train both Russian and American spies because they're democratic. So they train Russians to spy on Americans, and Americans spy on Russians. They've trained everybody. They're democratic that way. They even train animals. A guy working there has a battery operated heart.
Is that where the monkey with the wig comes in?
No, I never see the monkey with the wig in this scene. I'm introduced to Le Chiffre, Orson Welles. Apparently, he is trying to raise money here so that he can gamble. And he's selling a bunch of his like
It just
art.
sounds like Orson Welles in real life.
It honestly does.
He's just playing himself.
And honestly, it gets even worse later on when you see more of Orson Welles. He's basically just playing himself. Like, they just cast him to play himself.
Cool.
I wrote down, honestly, this model lady's cool as hell and funny. Let me give you an example. So
Okay.
she's in one room. She's like looking around trying to spy, and then she sees like a toilet in like the corner of the room. So she like flushes the toilet, and the wall spins while she's on it, and it like takes her to like a secret
room,
passageway.
yeah.
And she says, "This is the first John I've ever gone around with."
Okay.
See?
All right.
And she says it in a way that's funny.
I think you said it in a way that's funny.
Well, thank you. She sneaks around the school in a very pink, revealing outfit to show, so it's like, I don't know how you're going to really be able to sneak. There's an auction going on. It's about to begin. So there's a bunch of Russians, Americans, Chinese, and British, and they're all bidding on, blackmail and art and stuff like that. And it's honestly really funny. So they're like, before the auction, does anybody have any like thing they want to say? And the Americans are like, we are only going to stand when we are bidding, and we're going to sit when we're done. And then the Russians say they're going to do something different, and the Chinese say they're going to do something different, and the British people are like, no, we'll do whatever you guys want. Which is great.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And so then Mata, having seen all this, is like, the bidding is right about to begin, and then the taxi driver busts in, and he goes, "You gotta pay me, what you owe me." And she goes like, "Shh, fucking keep it down. I'm trying to sneak around." The taxi driver's like, "I'm actually from the Foreign Office. I'm working with British intelligence. You can trust me. We need to get you out of here." And Mata's like, "Not before I steal all the items." So she goes, and she just easily fucking steals all the blackmail, all the art. So no money ends up getting sent to Orson Welles. And the heart guy tries to stop her, but then she like acts all sexy around him, and then his heart
Stops.
Goes out, and he dies.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's great there too.
Okay.
And I just wrote down, this whole bit
She's
rocks.
a great spy.
She's great. She
Bad
dispatches
dancer.
all the armies, the Chinese people, the Americans, the Russian people, and the British people, dispatches them all using a fire extinguisher. She slides down a banister. How
That's
cool is that?
Classic. I don't think I've ever seen a banister slide that wasn't cool.
And this was also in like a German expressionist banister, so it's not even a straight one.
Oh shit!
Shit.
It's like waving up and down, left and right.
Shit
Whoa.
rocks. And then she ends up leaving, and she's they're like running out of the building. They're being chased, and she's like, "We'd have to escape." And so she opens up a sewer, like a manhole, and in the sewer. Now, this doesn't make any sense to me, but it made me laugh because of the absurdity of it. She like opens up the sewer, and then out of the sewer, you just hear go, "What's new, pussycat? Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And then the taxi driver's like, "No, not that way." And then they jump in the taxi and drive off. I'm just like, what the fuck is up with that?
That's pretty good.
It was great. So they're back to London with them. And one of the guys that runs the school is like, fuck, she got away and she stole all the stuff. So he goes into a little public phone box and calls up Orson Welles. And Orson Welles like, "Well, I guess I'm just going to have to raise the money playing baccarat. Like, I can't, if I'm not going to be able to sell the stuff that I was going to sell, then I have to make the money some other way."
That's where the plan of coming 100,000 goes.
And so then the guy's like, "Well, you're not angry at me for letting her escape, are you? And for stealing all your stuff?" And then he presses a button and the phone box explodes.
That's pretty funny.
Creating a giant hole in the Berlin Wall, and a bunch of people just start running to the other side. See, like, this part's actually funny. I was just like, holy shit, is this like actually a good movie?
I know. That's what I thought.
And then
No.
Peter-
That's the thing. There's moments. I think this film desperately needs an edit.
Yeah.
If there's an edit, like, I would say even like there's a good solid 80 minutes in this.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe 70.
Maybe.
But like, yeah, you just all the good jokes and cut
Yeah.
out even just jokes that are start out good.
You can cut out entire characters.
Yeah,
you
you
know,
really can.
you really can. So we are introduced to Peter Sellers, and he's welcomed into France, and he just fucking punches a dude for no reason. And I was like, okay, this is getting weird. I don't know why. That's not really that funny. Like, I don't know why he did that. Maybe this is some kind of like reference to something earlier on or something. Sounds like not. So he gets in a car with a random dude, who's working for like French intelligence, and he's like, we need to have a very secret meeting. And Peter Sellers is like, okay, well, what are we going to talk about? How can we like have a private meeting? We're in a car. And he goes, I got an idea to keep people like prying eyes away. So they drive into a car wash so that they can like talk in the very loud car wash.
They had like car washes back then, like automatic ones.
Well, so it looked like an automatic one. And I was just like, oh, this is a kind of a funny joke because car washes are notoriously private and loud. But then it's revealed that the car wash is actually being run by a bunch of sexy ladies, and the sexy ladies just like rubbing soap all over the car. And I'm just like, what is going on? This feels like something like Peter Sellers was like, I'm going to get in that car, but I want it to be covered in ladies, you know, which probably was. So
Is he a creep?
Peter Sellers, he was a bad guy.
Is he?
He wasn't like, he was just like, he was a massive narcissist. He
Pink Panther went to his head.
Even before that, it sounded like he had a really bad. I actually watched a movie years ago called The Life and Death of Peter Sellers that had Jeffrey Rush playing Peter Sellers. It's actually a pretty good movie, but it sounds like he just had a really bad relationship with his mom, who pushed him into becoming like a big movie star, and so he had a really terrible sense of self-worth, and he took that out on other people, and he had a really morbid sense of humor, and he was a massive womanizer. In this movie, apparently, he was so hard to work with. He's barely in the film, which I'm about to get to.
Yeah, because I felt like he was pretty highly billed.
Yeah, because people knew him because of the Pink Panther, and he was like a pretty famous. He was also in Dr. Strangelove, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, like in this movie, he constantly was causing problems. He'd show up late to set or wouldn't show up at all.
Oh, he's like The Rock, dude.
He's just like The Rock. He was pissing in bottles. And then at one
hawking his weird drinks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's
Peter Sellers here. It's got vodka and vodka. I'm Peter Sellers and I sound like this.
Watch the new Pink Panther movie. It's like magic and superhero combined.
It's gonna blow your mind.
Yeah, it needs to be seen on IMAX screen. But yeah, he was just not like that great of a guy. For instance, in this one movie, there's a scene that he has with a woman, and on their first day of shooting, the very first moment they met, he pulled out a gun which had blanks in it and shot it directly at her fucking face as a joke. And even though it was blanks, and even though
it's still fucking loud, dude,
it was loud, and all the shrapnel got in her fucking face, and she just started bleeding out of her face, and they had to like halt shooting for like a week.
This is very much like
this is what I'm talking about.
This feels like tech bro, kind of shit where, you know, you're just pulling off like fucking crotch grabs and stuff in the middle of the office and farting on people.
That's basically what it was. Yeah. But he was charming because he's British and whatever.
Oh, so British, so funny.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So to answer your question, Peter Sellers wasn't a good guy.
Okay.
We see Old Bond. He warns Vesper about, because Vesper's like, you know, yeah, we've heard that young Bond. I'm just gonna call him Peter Sellers. How about that? Okay, Peter Sellers, James Bond, Orson Welles, Vesper.
I say James Bond is Old Bond, but
okay, cool. Yeah, James Bond, Peter Sellers.
You said James Bond, not Old Bond.
Oh, you want me to call him Old Bond?
Old Bond.
Okay, so Old Bond calls Vesper.
There could be Cooper.
I never see Cooper in my half movie.
Really?
Never. Until the very end, and I'm just like, who is that fucking guy? Okay. Old Bond warns Vesper, and Vesper's like, I'm going to keep an eye out for Peter Sellers, because he's fucking going crazy. I wrote down she's played by the lady from the first Bond movie. Very strange. We are introduced to Mrs. Goodthighs, who meets with Peter Sellers, and she seduces him.
Funny.
And they
Mrs.
drug...
Goodthighs.
Very funny.
It's his thing. Austin Powers made the name
a lot of vagina,
crazier.
like over the top crazy.
Yeah, just Mr. Thigh is like, okay,
That's not
that
good
could
enough.
honestly be a character in the Ian Fleming novel, and I'd be like, sure.
He literally wrote Octopussy.
Yeah, I know. When you write that, it's like it could be anything.
Yeah, exactly.
You just write triple tits,
and pussy galore.
Yeah,
like, come on. So she seduces him, and they're like, they're lying on bed together, and he drugs her champagne so that like she'll knock out, and then she drugs his, and then he drinks this champagne that he doesn't think has anything in it, and he ends up falling asleep, and he passes out. And he falls on the ground, and then all of a sudden music starts playing, and he goes,
James Bond playing at Casino Royale. He won a lot
You're making this sound awesome.
Just see him like with ladies, and it's like crazy nightmare
Sounds kind
imagery.
of dope. I don't know.
Fucking shut up. No,
I mean, the audience will hear it because I'll edit it in, but the way your rendition, it's pretty good.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. So then he wakes up. His name is Evelyn, but everyone calls him James Bond. Vesper wakes him up, and she says, James Bond shouldn't be wearing glasses. And he goes, well, I need to be able to see who I'm shooting. And so she's like, we need to like wake you up. You got to go play Baccarat with Orson Welles. And he goes, okay. So she pushes him into the shower.
Fever dream.
You wake up. It's going to get way worse.
You got to wake up and you got to play Baccarat with Orson Welles. This sounds like legitimately dreams I've had.
It really does feel like that.
Where it's like a sense of urgency and it's with some weird guy. It's some game I don't understand and it doesn't make any sense.
I'm so glad you've never played Baccarat. You know the rules
I don't
of
know
Baccarat.
anything about Baccarat.
A good 10 minutes of the movie is just the two of them playing Baccarat, and I don't know what the fuck and they're also playing in another language, which is also way worse for me. So, yeah.
What language?
I don't know where Casino Royale takes place, where it's like located, but they're playing in some other strange language.
Okay.
Probably French. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, the weirdest language.
So Peter Sellers punk. So Peter Sellers is tossed into the shower, and the first thing I wrote down was like, this man is the hairiest back and shoulders I've ever seen in my life.
That's why he's so cranky all the time.
That's right. If you're cranky, you've got very hairy back and shoulders.
I feel like you'd probably sweat a lot. Like I sweat a lot, but like
I sweat quite a bit, but I don't think. I mean, I'm pretty hairy. You're not very hairy at all.
No, but I think that like I feel like having like a ton of hair makes it worse. Like it makes it hotter, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like,
That's
way
fair.
hotter, you know?
It does. Yeah, I'd agree with that. As someone who does have a lot of hair,
Yeah.
it does make it hot.
You're not nearly as hairy as him though.
No, he's fucking.
There are some people where I'm like, damn, you werewolf?
Like
You a
Robin
werewolf?
Williams.
Yeah, Robin
Williams
Williams
is
is
covered in that shit.
Yeah.
So we cut to Casino Royale, and there's Orson Welles, and he's at a Baccarat table, and he just starts doing magic. Like
cool.
he's just like, hey, woman over there, look into my eyes, and then she goes into a trance, and then he puts her on
Is
like
this
the
magic or is
Baccarat
this
table.
manipulation?
He puts her at the Baccarat table and like levitates her
Oh, that's pretty
under a
cool.
blanket, and then he pulls the blanket away, and she's gone.
Whoa.
And we never see her again.
You just kidnapped a woman.
Yeah, we don't know what happened to her.
What a bad guy.
And everyone's just like, holy fucking shit, that was crazy. And I'm like, how did he do that in a Baccarat casino?
I would fucking love it if like the world turned into poker. Like, someone just popped up. They're
Orson
like,
Welles.
hey, get over here, you broad. Come on over
My
this
eyes.
lay on this table.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
make it disappear. Poof. And then you just a fucking missing persons case comes down after
Yeah,
that.
who the fuck knows what happened?
And then it
to her?
becomes a mystery show and a bunch of YouTubers are putting the whole thing together.
So I mentioned before that Orson Welles is essentially just playing Orson Welles in this movie. One thing that Orson Welles was really interested in later in his career was magic. He did a lot of magic in his career.
That absolutely tracks with
Yes.
who he is as a person.
And so that movie F is for Fake, which is a documentary he made, it's literally him talking about like fakery and like how fakery is used in movies and in art and in culture. And he does magic throughout the entirety of that movie, and he actually does this trick in that film. So I wonder if like Orson Welles just showed up. He's like, "Can I do some magic in here?" And they're like, "Yeah, fucking who cares?"
This is fucking a weird parody of James Bond. Do whatever you want,
Do what
Orson
the fuck
Welles.
ever you. He's like, "All right, here we go. I'm gonna fucking do this."
Oh, I can't wait to be in the Muppet movie.
The French.
There are aliens in your house. And they're fucking stealing you. It's a terrible impressions.
It's not the greatest, but it's fine. Everyone knows what we're doing. So Bond
Yeah, 'cause
arrives.
you know, the best impressions are, I'm Orson Welles.
I'm Orson Welles.
I'm saying a radio play here, and you fuckers are going to panic over it.
You just sound like Plinkett from the Blinker review.
Oh, yeah. I'm Orson Welles, and I hate Star Wars.
I'm Orson Welles. I hate Star Wars, but I love pizza rolls. So Peter Sellers arrives at the casino, and he introduces himself as James Bond to the guy working at the casino. The guy working at the casino is like, "You're James Bond? Can I get your autograph?" And he gets an autograph from him. So
I think we alienated half our audience by mentioning Plinkett reviews, by the way.
That's
I feel
fine.
like
I mentioned Pinker reviews. It's my fault.
I feel like that's just such a sect of millennial culture. Like that is
you think people didn't turn it off? They just don't know what we're talking about.
I think you just don't know what we're talking about.
Okay,
Like
that's good.
I feel like
That's
that's just such a niche thing that like that's like old internet, but also YouTube culture. So it's like
They're still around.
oh yeah, sure,
Yeah,
sure. Red Letter Media, keep going.
yeah.
I guess.
Rain, the guy that directed Rain Johnson.
Yeah.
When he made right before he made the Last Jedi, he was actually specifically asked about the Plinker reviews, and he goes, I'm terrified of those guys.
Oh yeah.
And he had every right to be.
Do they hate it?
Oh yeah, they fucking hated it. I feel like they were the ones that whenever people say like it subverted expectations, whenever they talk about that movie, it's because of them. Like they're the ones that like created a lot of the memes that wound up being generated. But also they're just like, I don't know. Like I have a complicated relationship with these people. And you're right, we're alienating an audience. I'm not going to continue talking about it.
Okay.
That's fine. Anyway.
Hey, Knives Out 3.
Looking. Have you seen the trailer?
No, I didn't actually watch it.
Looks
I know
good.
It came out, but
Looks good. We're continuously alienating people.
Yeah.
So,
you see that new Marvel fighting game that came out? Looks pretty
no.
cool. There is a new James Bond video game. You see that trailer?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
How does this shit always happen to us?
I know we manifested
it's
it.
It's weird.
It's made by the same people who made Hitman, dude.
We need to start watching movies where they assassinate presidents. So, Ethan quickly trying to figure out whether or not he should edit that out or not.
I don't know what that even means. I'm leaving it in. That alienated me. Other people might get it though.
We don't know.
Well, that's cool.
We don't know. I'm dog whistling.
Okay.
So Peter Sellers and Vesper arrive in a room at the casino. And I don't fucking know. They keep. I don't know. He plays Baccarat. He wins.
Look, I'll be honest. I looked up the Wikipedia after this just to make sure I didn't miss anything because they straight up do not tell you the plot in this movie.
It's bad.
It's bad.
It's bad. And here's the thing. And I think this always happens with movies like this. I am sick of talking about this movie.
Well, because explaining the joke's not fun.
It's not fun, and also the plot isn't fun.
There's
so it's
no
like
plot.
There's no fun to talk about.
Plot.
Which is why we're talking about fucking like red letter media.
Oh shucks, I gotta watch the plot.
Yeah.
Try some pizza rolls instead.
So I don't know. They play Baccarat. Peter Sellers impresses everyone with his weird racist impressions.
Sure.
And he loses the first hand, but then he wins the second one. And the guy running the casino congratulates him. And there's a tiger.
This is like the only part in the new Casino Royale that I feel like is accurate.
The accurate?
Yeah.
It's the only this one part.
But I didn't think they played Baccarat. I'm pretty sure they just play like regular poker.
I don't know what Baccarat is. You fucking pull cards from a little thing and you like turn them over. I don't know.
I'll look it up.
Don't look it up.
I'm looking it up.
All right, fine. Vesper
is how to get some pizza rolls too.
Vesper and Peter Sellers get a check with all the money, and then Vesper's taken with a bag over her head, and Peter Sellers is like, "Oh no, I gotta."
Oh, I just realized that Vesper is the character's name in the new Casino Royale. That's Eva Green's character.
Well, there you go.
I didn't realize that.
See, I never saw it. So.
Again, very inspired. Oh yeah, and Le Chiffre is Mad Mikkelsen's character. Okay.
Here's Casino Royale. I wonder if that song's in it.
I don't think I remember that part.
So Peter Sellers is like, I gotta go after Vesper. So he jumps into a Formula 3 car that's just sitting there.
Cool.
And he's just like, and then he says, I know what you're thinking. I'm not gonna be able to catch up with that car, but I'm in a Formula 3. Hee hee. And he looks dead in the camera and he laughs and he drives off.
That sounds awesome.
And then suddenly, in the next scene, he's imprisoned in like in a cage. And I'm just like, what in the fuck happened? He wakes up and Orson Welles is like, nah, you broke into the casino and now I want you to give me the check. And he's just like, I'm never going to give you the check. And he goes, I'm going to torture your mind. And then the movie has like strange camera effects going on. Okay. And then Bond suddenly starts hearing a Scottish band. He hears like bagpipes and he looks out of the cage, and outside of the cage is like a large empty whiteness, like nothingness. And then all of a sudden from the whiteness, from the smoke, he sees a large band of Scottish people playing music, and they're all looking at him. And then suddenly he's outside of the cage and he's with them, and he's being chased around by them. And he looks in the camera. Peter Sellers looks in the camera, and I feel like this wasn't planned, but he looks in the camera, dead in the camera, and he just goes, help! And I feel like that's him going like, I don't want to be in this movie anymore.
You felt like a connection with that.
I did.
By the way, Baccarat was what they were playing in Thunderball.
Oh.
You weren't in that scene. But they didn't mention what it was. You just playing some fucking cards.
I think he just likes to play Baccarat.
Sure. I mean, I think Ian Fleming was obsessed with it. According to the quick brief dive I looked real quick here.
There you go. So everyone's there. Peter O'Toole is there playing himself. Vesper's there. They're all dressed like Scottish people with like stuff and
Scottish kilts.
Scottish kilts and like instruments. And Peter Sellers is just running around all confused, and then a giant fight breaks out, and then Vesper uses the bagpipes that she's wielding and playing to just shoot everyone,
Cool.
including Peter Sellers. Peter Sellers is dead.
Oh no.
We do not see
I'm
him
so sad.
throughout the rest of the movie.
So
I know,
sad.
such a shame.
That's
And
so sad.
Smersh is upset, and so through the TV they kill Orson Welles, and Orson Welles is now dead too.
Okay.
And now
everyone's
we're
dead.
back in London, and we see Mata, and I'm just like, hell yeah, my favorite character in the movie. I can't wait to see what she does.
She's
This is
gonna
going to be
die.
awesome. So she's got short hair now, and she talks to her dad, Old Bond. And Old Bond is like, I'm going to go look into Peter Sellers because he doesn't know he's dead. He's like, I'm going to go look into him. I want you to go and like have fun in London. Go see the Changing of the Guard or something. So she's like, okay. So instantly she's kidnapped by a guy on horseback. And I'm just like,
Classic.
classic. And I'm like, oh man. So now she's probably just going to be taken to some strange, weird place, like a factory or something in London.
Mhm.
So a giant UFO comes out of the sky and lands in the middle of London. And the guy on horseback runs into the UFO and then it just takes off.
So that's the part you leave in. In the edit, we leave that part in.
You leave it there because it's just like, oh yeah, like, you know, guy on horseback, that's a pretty good means of kidnapping. No, we also need a giant UFO for the guy on the horse to get on to take her
incredible.
somewhere else.
All right, that's pretty. You know what? Maybe this was all right.
It's pretty great. So we're introduced to Moneypenny. She sees the UFO, and Old Bond's like, stop looking at the UFO, Moneypenny. We have important stuff to figure out.
Don't mind that.
Yeah, he's like, we need to track down my daughter. And so then this nun shows up, and Peter and
Oh,
so
it's probably the nun from earlier.
I don't know who. So this
Yeah,
was
it's
so
probably-
confusing
it's
to
probably,
me.
what's her
A
face,
nun
yeah.
shows up, and then James Bond gives her money, and and then she gives him information as to where his daughter is being kept. And I'm just like, what the fuck?
How does a nun know about the UFO though?
I don't know.
That's God's UFO.
It's God's UFO.
Yeah.
And so they're saying that she's being kept at Casino Royale. So they gotta go to Casino
And
Royale.
they play the theme song then, right?
Oh, yeah, Casino Royale.
Casino Royale.
So Moneypenny and Old Bond arrive, and they're immediately ambushed by a bunch of Scottish henchmen, and they fight them, and they're all taken to a lower level. They're in the lower level of Smirch headquarters of Dr. Noah. And then they run through a bunch of different rooms. You hear the voice of Dr. Noah. It's like this deep booming voice. And all these rooms are differently colored with random spirals. Think like original Willy Wonka movie.
Yeah.
And they finally come face to face with Dr. Noah. And Dr. Noah is like in silhouette behind a glass. And Old Bond pulls a gun and shoots up the glass. And behind it, who is Dr. Noah played by?
Orson Welles.
No,
Damn. I thought they just use him again.
Woody Allen.
Oh, Jimmy Bond.
Jimmy
No.
Bond was always having to be compared to his uncle.
Uh-huh.
And so that drove him crazy because it's his nephew. And so what his plan is he's going to release a virus which makes all women beautiful and kill all men taller than he is.
It's
And
kind of funny.
so he's got some random naked lady tied up on a chair, Woody Allen does. And he tries to prove that he's much more of a man than his uncle is. So he plays the piano. He plays the song from earlier.
Mhm.
And I was like, why is he playing the piano to show that he's better than his uncle? But now I understand why.
Yeah.
And then he puts on a sombrero and he punches a doll with his uncle's face on it. And he says, here's what my evil plan is. I have a pill that is like a giant nuclear bomb.
Okay.
And I'm going to have every head of state take this pill on my birthday, which is April Fool's Day. And then I'm going to replace them with copies that I've made of them that I can control.
My head is in my hands because this is like a step too far.
It gets crazier. So she's like, oh, well, now I actually really like you. And he says, oh, you like me now? And she's like, yeah, take me, like, remove me from this. And really what she wants to do is just get that pill so that she can give it to Woody Allen.
How's he gonna get these world leaders to willingly take this pill?
I don't know.
He's
Why
like,
are you asking this? The UFO just came over and picked up a guy on horseback.
You're right, I guess.
So Dr. Noah, or Woody Allen, has made doubles of every famous person, all world leaders, and he's slowly like replacing them. And then she sneakily slips the exploding pill into his drink. And so now he's taking the pill. And he's going to explode after 300 hiccups. So after every hiccup, he has to count. He can never.
Is he hiccuping a lot?
Yeah.
Or is it just like
He
once in
hiccups a
while?
lot.
Oh, okay.
And so he's like, get me Alka-Seltzer. So we cut back to Bond, Old Bond, Moneypenny, Amata, and another man, which I now know is Cooper Bond, and they all escape, and they're shot by an army of women, and they need to get out, and they're just like, how are we gonna get out? Where do we go?
Shot or captured?
Shot at.
Oh, shot.
They're
at.
shot at. They're shot at by them, so they're just sort of running around trying to evade them, and they're like, how do we get out of here? Where do we escape? We got to find Dr. Noah's secret lab. And then they see the Frankenstein monster, and they're like, "Hey, can you show us where the lab
Just
is?"
a straight up Frankenstein monster.
Green, like square head, bolts, and he's like walking around, and they're like, "Where's the lab?"
Oh, Guillermo del Toro, let's go.
I know. So he's like, "Argh." So he takes him to the lab, and he's like, "Thank you." And so then they open. I'm just like, "What is going on?" So they finally arrive at the casino floor, and Vesper pulls a gun on James Bond, and she's like, "You're not going anywhere." And then all of a sudden, the cavalry arrive. And by that, I mean a bunch of cowboys arrive. And they just jump through the windows. And they're on horses. So cowboys on horses arrive, the Americans. And they just start shooting everybody on the horses. And everyone in the casino is just flipping the fuck out. And then like one of those like wheels that they... roulette wheel starts like... It spins in the air and it starts shooting out bombs and lasers and laughing gas, and now everyone's laughing and screaming, and it gets worse. And then a bunch of SEALs show up, and they have
they're supposed to be Navy SEAls.
And they're actual real life SEAls, and they have collars on. The collars say 007 on it, and they're just like, ooh, 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 and then bubbles start flying everywhere. There's a monkey with a wig. There's a nude woman. There's a bunch of nude women covered in gold. Suddenly, Native Americans start jumping out of airplanes and land on the out of the roof, and they have 007 painted on their foreheads.
I mean, the 60s had some crazy drugs. I'm glad they got to finally use them and put them in production.
Yeah,
but like, damn,
fucking crazy. And then they start running out of the casino, and it turns into a black and white silent film, which again reminds me of like Head. Remember that shit happens too?
Where like, funny.
No, it's just like insane. It's just fucking crazy. There's a guy on fire. A guy said this. Oh, okay. There's one part that's funny. So there's this one guy, and he seems really like sly and cool, and he's given a gun. And he's like, I know what to do with this, and he walks off. And then later on, he comes up to old James Bond. And he goes, he's like, I got a gun, and the gun shoots backwards. I just killed myself, and then he just falls. It was like, that's pretty great. And so then a big fire starts up in the middle of the casino, and all the Native Americans start dancing around the fire. And Woody Allen is just hiccuping and hiccuping and hiccuping. And finally he's like, 3, 2, 1. And then Casino Royale blows up and everyone dies.
Okay.
And we're in heaven. And there's old James Bond, there's Vesper, there's everybody. All of the main characters.
I wasn't prepared for this.
Yeah. And then the theme starts up again. It goes,
7 James Bonds at Casino Royale. They came to save the world and win the gal at Casino Royale. 6 of them went to a heavenly spot. The 7th one is going to a place where it's terribly hot.
Woody Allen slowly just descends into hell.
All right, the ending's pretty good. You know what? That is pretty good.
And that is the end of the movie. That is Casino Royale. And there you go. That's a movie.
How many bullet holes do you give this one?
I give it 1 bullet hole.
I was gonna give it half a bullet hole.
Yeah, but the Casino Royale part at the end.
I think it might be 1.5.
1.5. Wow,
it's still pretty bad.
Yeah, it's still pretty bad, but I give it a solid 1.
I bet the thing is you describing it is probably way funnier.
I hope so. I hope so for you and for the audience.
It's probably realistically a 1, but like I had a good time hearing about the end.
Well,
and in my mind, I watched the movie, so 1.5.
There you go, 1.5. That's great. So I get a higher score than watching the actual movie does. Feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You made it sound a lot better. I mean, the part where Woody Allen goes to hell. The part where UFO shows up and sucks up a fucking horse, man.
There's just a monkey with a wig. There's a bunch of Native Americans falling out of
roulette wheel turns and shoots a bunch of bullets out of it. Like, this sounds great.
It's fucking crazy.
But I bet with editing and all that, it's just kind of dry.
It's just
boring.
it's the same thing as like Head, where you're just like, fucking end already.
Like, you're just like, okay, this is happening, I guess. But none of it's funny.
So apparently Woody Allen, it's like one of his first movies.
Okay.
And so he showed up for production, and the production of this movie was such a fucking mess. It took 7 people to direct this movie. 7 different people to direct
What,
it.
the Marvel?
Yeah.
No, yeah, Marvel doesn't do that. That's just like writers.
Yeah, exactly. It took a ton of people to direct because it was such a mess. It was so like confusing and like awful to make. Basically, everyone hated it and went so over budget. And so Woody Allen like showed up to set one day. They were not prepared for him. He didn't have to shoot for another week, and he just saw the production getting like he saw the production and how much of a mess it was, and he's just like, I bet I could make a movie. For cheaper and easier than this.
Probably, yeah.
So we have this movie to blame for Woody Allen.
All right, 1 star. I changed it back. 1 bullet hole.
But he winds up in hell.
Yeah. In the movie. But in
movie,
real life.
Not in real life.
Not in real life. He's still here.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Wow. I mean,
didn't like it.
I'm glad we watched it because it was just such a weird little time capsule in like the James Bond history. Like, it's just so interesting that this appeared
Yeah.
in 1967. They had the forethought to be like, this is a parody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're going to make a parody on something that only Sean Connery's been in so far.
Yeah. Yeah. And it only has been around for like 5 years or something. Like this
The
feels
movies
like
anyway, yeah.
This feels like in movies. Like this feels like when the scary movie movies would come out, right? It's like
kind of, yeah.
They would release a bunch of like movies and like commercials and stuff, and then a Scary Movie 3 would come out, and they're like, we're gonna reference all the movies that came out in the last couple of years and a bunch of commercials that are like super popular right now. You know, it was very timely.
So like, in my mind, it's kind of refreshing to be like, we've been watching so many Bond movies, we kind of get the jokes, and then it's just suddenly like, here is the movie that parodies all that.
Yeah.
Which was better. I really wish it was better.
Well,
but it was still refreshing in a way.
I think I've said this off podcast. I don't think I've said it on mic, but watching all these movies, and this one in particular, really makes me appreciate the like Austin Powers movies a lot more.
Yeah.
Because as bad as they were, and they were bad, they were better than this, you know?
Yeah,
and they
they
were
really
making
were.
very specific jokes about like James Bond. Like that's the other thing.
How many
like,
did they come out with?
3.
3? That's so crazy.
Yeah. They all were released like year
enough,
after year. Yeah.
Enough jokes to make 3 movies.
Honestly, there wasn't enough jokes to make 3 movies.
think there
There's really
was.
only enough jokes to make 1.5 movies.
Yeah.
But they were there, and they were a massive cultural phenomenon. But yeah, I didn't like this movie at all. I had a very bad.
It's just
time
a
with it.
weird little time, but yeah,
is.
I agree.
It
It was really hard to watch. It was
Yeah.
hard to watch because none of it's funny.
I'd recommend watching just the last 5 minutes because it's such a fucking insane, crazy mess of a film. Or just that scene that Mata's in because she's great.
Yeah. There was there was a funny. Actually, I already forgot the funny part.
Good night, everybody. Would you guys like to discuss the movies that we talked about on the podcast, recommend movies for future episodes, or maybe even watch movies with us? Check out the Discord.
You can find the Discord on the latest episodes or on the website, theotherhalfpodcast.com. We're just hanging out chatting.
And while you're there, maybe also check out the section of the Discord, which is specifically for Ethan's streams on Twitch. You get updates as to when he goes live. Just keep up to date with us, with Ethan, the podcast, and the stream.
It's also totally okay if you just want to hang out and talk about the podcast. You can hang out there and maybe we'll see you there and watch a movie or something.
Or maybe you're like, wow, these streams are so much better, and you just totally ignore the podcast. That's also another option.
That could happen.
Why not?
Why not? The Discord is your oyster. Come join us.
The Discord is your oyster. Join it.